Alright, so it's been a little while since I've done a video on this bike. There's been a change, and a couple changes since I originally built it. When I first put this Worksman together, it had a different set of wheels on it, and I loved it. It rode great. I've changed the stem out a few times. This bar here, the bars, this is the first set of bars I ever bought from Chad Logan. Chad's one of those dudes, man. He's a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, that's where I got this Seiko from. I'm going to do a whole video on this soon. But these bars were like 36 inches wide, and I cut them down. And then I brought them back to Chad, and I had him put the nickels in again. So there's Jefferson on this side. So I take these grips. These are, what are they? They're lawnmower grips. I can't think of the name of the company right now. Boy, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's an American company, big time company. But I like them because they mimic the old waffle grips that I had as a kid, but they lack the flange, which is more comfortable. They're a little longer. Snapper mower. And on this side here, got the Indian head. Might be a little hard for you to make out there. Doesn't help that I'm moving the camera around. There we go. Kind of cool. Anyhow, I'm going to talk about what I did to make everything work here. And I noticed the rear wheel has a little bit of play side to side here. Let's see if I can capture that for you. Yeah, I can't do it holding the camera with one hand. I need the tripod. But anyhow, got to adjust the cone nut here on this coaster brake in a little bit. And it's a tedious thing, so that's no fun. I picked these wheels up, the hoops. They are Worksman aluminum, heavy duty, super heavy duty spokes with this drum brake on the front. I was having a real hard time getting this to work. It kind of works. It doesn't bring the bike to a dead stop. And I had seen this mod somebody had done for a drum brake where this is a stem, an aluminum stem, and they cut it up and they used it. It really didn't work great for this application. And I finally looked at a Worksman and I realized with the fork that's on this bracket here, I see it better from the other side, it's actually designed to slip over a screw that would be on the inside of the fork tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that apart, I'm going to pop this wheel off, and I'm going to drill into that and put a screw in there. I might be able to get a rev nut to work. So I'm going to try that, and then we'll see. And I think once the orientation changes on this arm, right, once this is rotated up more, I might get more stopping power out of that. That's what I'm hoping. I'm currently running this new stem, new to me. I got a good deal on it. It was used. I think there's a spot where the chrome is peeling. But that's a Johnny True Torch. Double stem there, double clamp stem, slant. This is, I was not, we all rode BMX when we were kids. Like, I didn't do it, like, race. I didn't race BMX. But I'm friends with a bunch of guys out here that are legit old school. Some of them pretty well known, famous, had pictures in the magazines, all that stuff. Hardcore. Matter of fact, I think Johnny True Torch is one of those guys. So this is the stem here. This is one of the, or a variant of this. A slant front 4-bolt double clamp stem is just an iconic design. Super tough, looks super cool, can't go wrong. One of the things I like to do, I keep getting the finger in the frame because I'm not using this on a mount right now. Use a mountain bike lever on your front brakes, all right? No flex that way. And I'm going to talk more about this when I do those fixes in this video. I wanted to come back to this from yesterday real quick. The reason this 20-inch bike, and when I say 20-inch, we're not talking the frame, obviously, we're talking the wheels. Why this works for an adult is the trick is putting a 26-inch fork on it. What that does is it lifts the bike. And what I love about it is that it makes the chain stays level to the ground, and it allows you to run a 165 millimeter crank. And that's the trick that makes it comfortable for an adult. So again, I got a number on this that's the I don't really want to sell it number. That's just the reality of it. Because I really should put this in the van. I should bring this with me in the van. It's the perfect bike to cruise around on if you're camping or something. So we'll see, we'll see. And this bike here, also not really for sale. Oh, I got to take care of something. I'll be right back with you guys. All right, we're going to try something here with this tight shot for you. So right there, it's flat on two sides. That's your cone nut. You have to loosen your axle bolt. You got to crank that in a little bit. You got to set it with these, and you got to tighten this up again. And when you do all this, you're probably going to get your wheel out of alignment. You can't see what I'm doing here at the same time. And then it's a test to see if you got it right, because this cone nut is crucial, so you don't have this wheel. There's a wheel wobble going on in here. I grab my wheel, which you're not seeing on camera, but the whole wheel does this a little bit. So it's got to take a little bit of slack out of that. I've got a 15 millimeter nut on the back of this here, and we're just going to whack on that a little bit. All right. Need to come off all the way. Turn this in here. Snug that up a hair. And then, what is that? That's just a, well, that's a nut. I don't know what size that is, but well, got lucky. It's 15. Let's just see. You have to go real easy with this, man. Little adjustments mean a lot. All right, I got the slop out of it, but now what you see that it's pulling the chain. That means it's a little bit too tight. If it's turning the cog here, I need a break from the noise pollution. Okay, so again, if when you turn the wheel, it also turns the chain, that just means you usually probably have that cone nut a little bit too snug. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up again. Back this out. Now the neat thing is I might have just gotten it perfect. So I backed that nut, the cone nut, up against this nut here, set nut. Go ahead and make sure we're good here. Okay. Wants to pull it, but not as much. Now if your feet were on the pedals, right now I'm holding the pedals. That's why the chain's not moving. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's see how it feels side to side. The slop is out of it. I feel like the wheel's moving nicely. Look at that. That's probably perfect. So that's the first thing fixed here. Wheels in good alignment. Back you out. See what's going on here. So yeah, that's rolling well. Yeah, I like that. So the coaster brake on this is the CBE 110. That's the good one. All right, we're going to call that did. All right, I'm going to walk over here now, and we are going to work on this this drum brake up front. Now you'll notice I'm working on this thing the way that we all did when we were kids, right? I actually have a Parkman professional double bike stand that I got from a pal in New Jersey. It was outside in the salt air for decades. I got the big, whatever that is, like 4-foot steel plate it's got a surface rust on it and all the parts. I mean, I could set it up, but I don't have a place to put it. I should sell that. Anyhow, let's see if we can get this off of here. Might have to adjust some of the wrench before I do that. But yeah, so I'm going to pop this off, and then I'm going to remove these nuts here, and I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to take this off the fork, and then I'm going to put the wheel back on and mark on the inside of this fork tube where I want to go. And then I'm going to try to figure this out, because I don't know that I can get in there straight with a drill, obviously. That's going to be it's going to be tedious, you know? What's going on? Oh, okay, I adjusted that off. All right, so let me do that. And just this wheel is not super easy in this fork. So let's get to this. Oops. Just remembered, all I really have to do, I think, is loosen that a hair. There we go. Maybe that should come out. So that's one of the nice things about this sort of thing. It's actually usually pretty simple stuff. Just give me enough slack to disconnect that. And it did. So, perfect. Got the 15 millimeter here right in front of me, so I'll just go ahead and do this. This is a Schwinn fork, BMX style, what we call straight tube fork. Back in the day, we called it a wishbone fork. All right. I gotta pull this stopper off the cable. All right, there's probably gonna be a lot of helicopter noise during this video because there always is, and I can't stop it every time. Just, it's a bummer. All right, comes off that easy. If you get one of these Worksman drum brakes, don't lose this. This is very important. I had this running with some other contraption on here for a while, and I finally found this piece. I had lost it. Don't want to lose it again. All right, so the wheel should slide right off. And it did. Okay. So next step is to remove the dumb thing I put on there. Dumb. It looks like it's a 6 millimeter Allen head. There it is. All right. Spectacular. Yeah, I thought this guy's idea was awesome, and it absolutely worked with the style of drum brake he had on his bike, and it's been a while. I'll be honest, as most of you know, I have not been doing bike videos, and I've never really, I don't think I've ever done this. I usually just show you a full bike and talk about it, and probably almost always forget particular details. Right. I'm just doing this here so I can get a Sharpie out and mark the inside. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. The R. The R. Oh boy. Let's see what we got going on here. I got Ode to Billy Joel, not Billy Joel. Ode to Billy Joe. Bobby Gentry. You know, she died this year. You know, every time I hear the first couple notes of that song, I get emotional. And I think the reason is, I think that song came out like the summer of '66, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I was in my mom's womb at that time, and I'm sure my mother, being who she was, the music she liked, she probably listened to that song thousands of times with me in her belly. Just resonates with me. Let's see. Now it's going to be a thing. I got to collect some tools here, make a decision, determination, whatever, to figure out how to get a drill in here. See that? So I got to drill a hole right between these two lines, right about here, and then see about making this nice. Now look, the steel on this fork tube is thick enough to where I believe I could just drill a small hole, get a screw, like a machine screw with fine enough threads, and force it in there. I do that all the time, and it would probably hold fine. But I do have a rev nut setter that has arms where I think I could get it in here. There might be enough room between these tubes to get it in and make it work if I can drill a proper hole. So let's give that a shot. Well, I can tell you right now that's not going to work because there's no way I can get that in there straight. It's going to need too much room. So that's not going to work. All right, so I'm going to try to drill a hole and just thread something in there and make it work. The right way to do this would be figure out how to drill that hole and then braze in a threaded insert. I mean, and possibly really it could be as simple as brazing in one of these right here. That would work. And you know, I happen to know a guy. But Chad is retired, in case you guys didn't know. Chad is retired from the bike thing. So he's not doing frames anymore. I mean, if you're a special person and you're willing to pay up for it, it's a thing right now. The numbers have gone crazy on everything. You just can't find it anymore. I mean, every once in a while, if you're diligent, you might find a deal. You might find a really good deal on a vintage bike, American-made frame, like at a yard sale or something, or even on Craigslist, or, you know, it happens. But people have been hoarding this stuff, building it. People made it cool. It's always been cool in my mind. I've always done it. I didn't do it because it was cool. I did it because I was poor. You know what I mean? But I've been able to make pretty good money on the bikes I've built over the years because there's always people with money that don't have the time. It's not that they're not capable of it. Some of them aren't. But they just don't have the time to invest in collecting all these parts and then figuring out how to make it work and all the little parts that you need to make all these mismatched parts function together. So it might look like an old ratty bike to some people, but it functions like a new bike when you're done with it, but it has that cool vibe. And anyhow, that's kind of my thing. So I'm going to have to figure this out. Let's do that. Just quickly pointing out, all those containers up here, that shelf, this little section of box here is all bike related. So there's 3 rows of clear containers of bike parts. A lot of vintage Schwinn fasteners, everything that you need to make the bike work. And I've got stems in those red boxes here. And then up here, where the Bigfoot is, there's 3 wooden boxes full of vintage parts, cranks, pedals, grips, all that stuff. More stuff over here behind the muriatic acid. That's all bike parts right across there. And then, of course, I've got my collection of forks I'm probably keeping, plus all the other stuff. You know, I've got forks for vintage Schwinns. I was collecting these with the tall head tube, fork tubes, because you could put those on forks like this Tangy. See this black Tangy fork right here? Let's see, get a little tighter on that. So this fork right here, see that? So I could take that apart and put a longer tube in it and make that work on a different frame. Although I would, this is kind of a desirable fork. I would sell that, by the way. But you can't get that in a lot of the frames that we ride. I mean, it will fit a lot of frames, but that's a mountain bike fork. But it's pretty cool on these old cantilever frames. Anyhow, back to what I was doing. You know, part of the issue with sticker was given to me, don't judge me. Part of the issues is finding hardware. Now I keep a lot of hardware and it's relatively organized in this toolbox because a lot of times I'll bring this toolbox with me somewhere. I like to have everything I need for the most part to do what I need, and I can almost always find what I need with these fasteners. If I can't find what I need in here, then I've got to go over to the shelf, and then that becomes a thing. So one of the issues with doing this sort of work, and it's just one of those things, right? You spend an enormous amount of time just looking for the right part, the right spacer, the right nut, the right bolt, the right screw. So much time is spent just trying to find the right little thing that, and you know, you find it. Now you can get on eBay and you can order stuff, but then you're waiting. So I'm going to, you know, it's going to take me hours to do some little fix because of all the time it takes just to look for the part. But I usually have it and I can get it done that same day. So that's what helps me along. By the way, the first thing I'm going to do, one of the first things here too, is to determine a bolt that's going to be right for this opening. Right? I don't want too much slop between this fork here. I want that to slide over and not want to move too much. I need enough room so it'll slide easy. So there's a lot of things to think about. Well, look what we found here. This here is a self-tapping screw. That's extremely fortunate. I found a couple of them. This one, I saw this through the little clear container. That's why you use clear containers, people. Save you some time there. And already had a lock washer on it. I thought that's perfect. So I just got to drill the appropriate hole. Problem's going to be, getting it straight enough, but I think it'll work regardless. And just double check, make sure it's long enough to do everything I need it to do, and then I'm just going to do it. I did a little loopsy here. I forgot to record that. Of course, it's a little dark here. I should have spun the bike around for you. But, yeah, I got the hole in here. Now that's not big enough. I drilled it from both sides, but I just wanted to do it with a small bit here, just to double check. Looks like it's going to be okay. Use a larger bit next. Okay, so listen, straight up, I'm not sure this is going to work. One of my the things I like to say to people is I'm still working on bikes. I mean, pretty much the way I did when I was 9. I mean, by the time when I was 8, I was wrenching on bikes. I was 8 or 9. I already had my own tools for this sort of thing. The reason I do it both ways is because I don't go both ways in every aspect of my life. You know what I'm saying? But the reason I did it here was to try to help center this. I didn't want to start threading on an angle. I'm hoping that by doing that, this will work. I will say that the threads on this are pretty beat, so I'm hoping it'll still work. I should probably put some oil in this, and I might have to go a hair bigger. You have to be careful. You go too big, and then you're screwed, So it's smarter to go in increments, Use some logic. Just so to keep the camera rolling here. Okay. So put this back here. Waiting for a phone call from Performance 4-Wheel Drive with Ken. He is he's pulling the axle on the driver's side. We had a real good conversation on the phone yesterday. His initial thing, by the way, was that there was nothing wrong. You guys will hear all about that when I pick the van up. But if I was smart, I would drill a hole in something else with this bit and then see how this feels. Let me do that real quick. Best way to do it, test it first. Alright, so this seems to be not too large. Alright, that might be perfect. It might be perfect. Now, I think I'm not sure if I'm going to, well, let's go ahead and try to thread that in. Let's get a wrench on that. Something I found somewhere, probably got for nothing. Look, this is a snap-on. Tighter look at that. Well, well, well. She made her own threads. We're on good track here, people. I mean, this is looking like it might work. Man, that's how much room we got here, really. This bolt here is not super long, all right? And the thickness of, let's try to get you out a little bit here. So the fork on here it's pretty thick, And if we look on here, so you can see it. Oh, you bastard. Yep. Okay, let's see if I can place this and get it in front of the camera for you. Okay, so you can see it doesn't, it doesn't stick out a whole lot. I mean, it does. It's a solid 1/2 inch, right? So we want enough room. The thing is that thread tapers. You should be able to see that. The thread tapers right here, and you need the fat threads to bite on the wall thickness of the tube fork. So I might not have enough room really for a washer, or at least the lock washer, possibly a regular washer. We'll find out in a second. All right, I'm trying to learn. Try some Loctite on this with a standard washer. How's that sound? Seems like it makes sense to you. I should have it in and then thread this over that bolt as I put the wheel on, but oops, I just blew this all over myself. Boy, I sure am saying some weird stuff. Whoopsie. Okay, that's not how you do that. Follow me for more tips on what not to do. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to have to pull this. Thread this in a little bit. It's all back on here. Line this. There's 3 things now to line up. Oh, but look at that. Well, that's a good sign. Let's not get too excited. Let's not get too thrilled with ourselves yet here. You don't know. That's interesting. Okay, so it does want to pull the wheel over a little bit, so we're going to have to pull this away. And that might have to live just where it is. You know what I'm going to need to do? I'm going to need to put a washer on the other side of this fork. I may need a longer bolt. The good news is, what happened, totally by accident, is because this is a self-tapping screw bolt, it created threads for me. So, if I need a longer bolt, I could find one that has the same threads that's longer and allow me to put the proper washers on here so I can get the right alignment. What's happening is, whoopsie, I am sorry. So what's happening is, as I tighten that bolt, it's pulling this fork tighter to this wheel, and as it does that, it's pulling the whole wheel with it. And I can't have that because I need to push the wheel back the other way to center the tire inside the fork. So I'm going to need to put a washer on the other side. Well, the interesting thing is, if I was to do it right and braze a riv nut in there, the flange would probably hold this fork in the right spot. That's probably how the Workmans are. And by the way, this little bracket here holds the cable. That's the reason. So as I tighten behind this fork here, this is like a fulcrum, so that's what's making this rotate back in. So I need something the same thickness as this to put behind here, and then that'll should solve my trouble. Okay, so what I found here is, some of you might recognize this. I don't like using it, but it's going to work. I'm going to let you guys tell me what this is from. If you're a bike person, you're going to know what this screw/bolt comes from. Especially, you should recognize this star pattern locking washer on here. If you're a Schwinn person, you should definitely know it. This is what holds the chain guard on a Schwinn bicycle. Anyhow, it's the same threads. I recognize that it was standard threading, so that's going to work out perfect. Let's go ahead and put this together with the right spacing. Alright, I found a washer that's the right thickness. Interestingly, that Loctite made this washer stick to the old bolt, which is cool. We're going to use the lock washer and the washer on the what we would call the outside face of this, because, oops, damn, I'm wasting this Loctite. It's a waste. All right, so we're going to put all this together here. The bummer's going to be, you know what, this might not be smart, because I don't know if I'll be able to turn that with a screwdriver to get it tight. I guess we'll find out, huh? If it doesn't work, it's fat enough. There's enough purchase on this. I can put a pair of pliers on it to turn it, which is not the right way to do it, but this is welcome to Hokey Bike Building with your host. Yeah. Now let's see. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Looky there. Oh, I don't want to get too excited here, people, but oh, oh, that's pretty. Looky there. Oh, this that thing I do. I got that from Howard Fellner. You've heard me mention his name before. Howard was a World War II veteran. He was 68 years old when I met him, and his big thing was and Howard was a piece of work, man. He used to flirt with all the ladies at the bank and bake them pies. That's where I learned baking pies for the ladies, you know. I stole that move from a 68-year-old man, and now I look like a 68-year-old man, so it's coming full circle. You know? I'm hoping that this change here is going to change the geometry of the pull, and I'll get more stopping power. This is what I'm hoping for. So, and if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to figure something else out. But at least now I feel like I've got this. Okay, that's good. I've got this more correct. Right? That's the way it should be. Right? Right? I feel like if I was a better YouTuber video person, at this point you would hear a crowd cheering in the background. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Let's put this back together and then give her a test ride. All right. You remember I said don't lose that little thing that goes on the end of the cable? Guess what I did? So I'll see you, like, it'll be a second for you, but it'll be a friggin' hour from now before I find this thing. Found it. You know, this is what happens. This is what happens when you dump out a little container of nuts and bolts and washers and everything right next to the thing you're not supposed to lose. By the way, as I was doing this, the Johnsons came home. Those are the people who allow me. I love these people. They're kind of like my adoptive parents. They are fantastic human beings. They let me use this garage as my workshop. And they're getting a little old, so I like being here when they get home from their shopping trips, because I take their bags in. And it's funny because they've always got, I think they got and they must have gotten at least a dozen bottles of champagne. And so I said to them, I said, what's the good news? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, I mean, what are you celebrating? I said, well, the bottles of champagne. And, they made the joke of, well, we're alive. We woke up again today. So, that's a life lesson for you right there, man. If you can get into your 70s or older and you wake up in the morning, celebrate with a bottle of champagne. I'm, I'm stealing that life lesson. If I make it that far, that's what I'm doing. I'm drinking a bottle of champagne every day. Now, this is not adjusted yet. There's a lot of play here, but yeah, see, I can turn that. I'm pulling the brake lever down. I don't think you can see that on camera. You might. You might, Rabbit, you might. You guys remember that Bugs Bunny episode? Would I turn the gas on if my buddy was in the oven? You might, Rabbit, you might. Would I light this match if my friend was in the oven? You might, Rabbit, you might. Would I throw the match in there? Kaboom! Now, if I can grab this and pull it, which I can, that tells me that my body weight when I'm on the bike is not going to stop this bike. So you have to find a happy medium here. I'm not optimistic on this. Because I've messed with this thing, man. You want it to roll freely and then still be able to stop. See that? I can pull that still. So I've taken this apart. There is not much to it. I did a video on it. I'm thinking, should I rough up the pads? I don't know. I'm adjusting the screw stop, on the side here. That's a good sign. Well, that's definitely better. And what's interesting is before I get it to full closure, it's stopping. And then I still got some pull here. So let's just a little bit more. And you know what? Try to spin the bike around for the light for you. Alright, so from this angle you'll see me working on this and actuating the wheel, the brake. So it should be done this way. Okay. A little friction here, not bad. I gotta tell you, man, I do feel optimistic. Which I shouldn't, because I'm telling you, man, this is not, it hasn't worked for me in the past. But you can tell by this spin here, there's just the slightest amount of drag. See, I've got the brake on now and I can force this forward. So this is what you run into. So I don't know why this brake doesn't want to work for me. It's very annoying. Okay, well, so let's mess with that adjustment one more time. One more time. Because, you can't have this too... If it doesn't roll freely, then it's a drag, man. It's got too much drag. It's a drag. Okay, let's put that there. Well, see this? These things, I feel like these things just slow you down, So I'll ride it and see. It feels like it might be, see, I'm pushing it right now. I got the brake on all the way. Brake's on. So I don't know. It's no fun. I can stop it there like that, but with my body weight and momentum, it's just not going to work. I wish I could do a stoppie with this brake. It would be nice. We'll get to the point where it's too much and then back it off. Maybe that's the way to do it. see, that's too much right there. But let's see what that does here. Well, I can force it. There, I got the brake on. I don't know if you can see them. So this is just going to slow me down. It's not going to stop me. See how that stops on its own there? I'm going to leave that and ride it. See what that does. I need no tools to adjust it, as you've seen. It is strictly just this here. You guys can see that. So that's going to be it for now. I'm anticipating a phone call from the guy's got the van, and anticipating riding home and getting a lift here soon. Hopefully. We'll see how that goes, you know. And then I've learned a lot about the watch, by the way. So I want to do a video on it. It's pretty interesting. And I want to talk about my buddy Chad that I got the watch from. Chad bought this brand new, and that's why it's all beat up, because he wore it every day in his shop. Chad's a metal guy. You know, welder, fabricator, machinist, and he just bought himself a really, really expensive watch that most people would keep in a safe, and he's wearing that every day working. It's insane. So I don't mind wearing this because he already beat it up. I don't have to worry about beating it up anymore. But I'm going to do a watch on the specs on it and the history that I've learned and show this off, and it'll be fun, I think. And then there's going to be a talk up on the van when I get that. So I know this is bike video, but some of you are watching all the videos, and you're going to hear everything when I pick up the van. But just so you understand, I felt like to me there was too much play in the CV going into the front differential. Ken called me yesterday. He drove it around. He said he thought it was fine. He says he sees that all the time. He says it's average. But to be safe, I asked him to pull the axle to make sure that that axle spindle that's inside there isn't moving too much. Because if it is, then that's a problem with the spider gears or something, which could be a Hooper's thing, because that's all should be new with the 410 gears. And if they didn't change that out, and if it's too worn, that's something we're going to have to work on. But hopefully, he's going to tell me it's just the CV, not a big deal. And then I got a new way to go with that, so which I'll talk about in that video. I want to get into the weeds on that here. I think this is a pretty long video already. Anyhow, this is my Worksman, and you see me work on it today, just like we did when we were kids. Just better tools, right? Hey, be good to one another. You know, be kind. Stay positive. Positive vibes bring about positive